Hi, my name is Nkenzo, and this presentation summarizes my research service project for Communication 350. My project focuses on digital communication and student engagement at the Global Education Center, GEC, in Senegal. The main question I studied was how does communication through digital platforms influence student engagement and participation at the GEC? Selected is topic selected this topic, because I selected this topic because the center depends on communication to coordinate activities, take club opportunities, services, schedules, learning, resources, and required student actions. My goal was to examine the communication process and identify practical ways the DC can make its messages easier for students to receive, understand, and act on. The communication problem is simple but important. Sending a message doesn't guarantee that the audience receives it or responds to it. At the DC, information can be shared through WhatsApp, email, Canvas, social media, digital displays, and in-person reminders. Students do not use all of these channels in the same way. A message can also fail when it arrives late. Use is unclear wording, leaves out important details such as the date or location, or makes the response process difficult for the DC. This matters because communication is connected to participation in activities, student services, tech club opportunities, and the use of learning resources. The project therefore focuses on the full communication process instead of assuming that distribution equals engagement. My research questions ask how communication for digital platforms influences student engagement and participation at the Global Education Center. The primary audience for this research is the DC site managers, staff members, teaching assistants, and other team members who plan activities and distribute announcements. Students and Tech Lab participants are also important because they receive the messages and decide whether to act. The information for that matters most to this audience includes messages, reach, timing, clarity, completeness, barriers, and actions students are expected to take. This was designed as a local study. The purpose was to support global education center decision making, not to generalize the result to all colleague students. I use a mixed method designed with greater emphasis on quantitative data. The quantitative instrument was a 12-item anonymous questionnaire. It was designed to measure communication channel use, message frequency, clarity, timing, completeness, the perceived influence of communication on participation. Participation frequency varies and preferred improvements. The planned survey sample was about 25 to 40 GC's participants. The qualitative strain used six open-ended questions for communication research professionals. Those interviews were intended to add context about message reach, digital platforms, audience feedback barriers and communication strategy. The two stands were designed to be interpreted together so the measurable patterns could be supported by explanation and professional context. A major part of this project was learning to separate verified evidence from information that was planned to but not available at the end. The 12-item survey instrument and the analysis plan are documented. However, the response level server export was not available in the final project files. Because of that, I didn't know report server counts, percentages, averages, or rankings or communication channels. For the qualitative part, I contacted three professionals and follow up with all three, but no interviews were completed. I therefore did not invent interview quotations or themes. Instead of, I treated the recruitment record as a process evidence. This limitation reduced the amount of outcome data available, but it also reinforced the importance of data preservation, participant access, and accurate reporting. The strongest defensible finding from combining project is a process level. Finding engagement is better understood as a pathway. First, the message has to reach the audience through a channel that the person actually checks. Second, the timing has to allow the person to act. Third, the message needs to be clear. Fourth, it needs complete information such as the data, time, location, and require action. Fifth, the response process should be convenient. Only after those steps can participation occur. The survey was designed to measure these conditions, and the professional required the recruitment experience also showed how access and response burden can stop engagement early in the process. This finding doesn't identify one best platform. It identifies the conditions that communication should meet. The study supports several conclusions. GEC communication should be evaluated as a connected process involving rich timing, clarity, complete details, response, confidence, and participation. A small local sample is also best interpreted with descriptive methods rather than broad causal claims. At the same time, the evidence doesn't support declaring WhatsApp email canvas or another platform the best channel because the verified survey outcomes are missing. It also doesn't support reporting percentages that cannot be checked, quoting interviews who did not participate, or claiming that digital communication directly caused the participation. These limitations are important because good research or communication requires showing where the evidence hangs, not filling gaps with assumptions. Based on the verified project evidence, I recommend that the GC run a shared communication pilot before making a permanent channel change. First, every announcement should use a standard structure that includes the activity or service, date, time, location, required action, deadline, and contact person. Second, the team should use a planned reminder sequence with one message early enough for planning and another closer to the event or deadline. Third, a short feedback form should measure clarity, timing, completeness, and whether the message helped the person participate. Fourth, when appropriate, those responses can be compared with attendance or research use records. Finally, future research should preserve the survey export and beginning professional recruitment early with more contacts and shorter, flexible response options such as email or voice notes. My final takeaway is that effective communication is not one message on one platform. It is a sequence that helps the audience receive the information, understand it, and act on it. This project produced a mixed method research plan, a 12-item questionnaire, a professional interview protocol, a documented recruitment process, an analysis framework, and practical recommendations. The next step for the GC is to run a short communication pilot, preserve the data from the pilot, and use the results to decide which communication strategy works best for the local audience and what item can we implement. Thank you for listening. I'm happy to respond to questions or comments about the project. That was Charmant Nkenzo in Communication 3,350 RSP final report.